And this is why, if you read things like 1984, you'll understand why everybody wanted to reframe the way we looked at things. Why, instead of calling it the Ministry of War, they changed it to the Ministry of Peace. Right? If you reshape the way people look at the world, if you slightly skew certain things, you can slowly take control of those people. You can manipulate them to accept certain things that they otherwise wouldn't accept. Every time the Ministry of War would get involved in something, it would kind of evoke a response in you, a visceral response of, is this okay? Should I be worried? But if they want you to sit down and just be a dumb consumer, okay, a useless eater, what they're going to do is they're going to call it the Ministry of Peace. And suddenly, every time you see the Ministry of Peace being spoken about in the news, you're not going to get that same reaction. You're going to be placid. You're going to be a
I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, you're going to be a dormant.
I love that.
Alan,
It's like my
Alan, really quickly. This is a good question for Speakeasy. Alan, what incentives does Google have to give you information that's against their worldviews? What incentives do they have?
No. That's not what I'm saying.
I know that, but like, do you understand?
Yes, I understand why Google would want me to find things that go. I understand why Google would want that, but why would everybody involved with this situation? What would their intrinsic motivation to be?
Because when
okay, let's go. Hold on. Damon.
Specific. Okay, listen. Sorry. Let me give me 2 seconds. You mentioned this as you mentioned this an example in your opening arguments, your opening statements in that debate. You mentioned this as an example of feminism taking over and changing the way that we think about things. What would be the intrinsic incentive of all of these individuals to do this? You don't think that at least a couple of them would come forward?
So let's go with Cleaner here. Cleaner, can you answer the question directly here?
Yeah, please, because I really.
I'll go first question and then second question. The first question you asked, why would Google do this, right? What's their end item? There is not an
No, not Google, item. Not Google, not Google taking away the search results.
Everyone.
What would the hundreds of people that saw this and didn't say anything? Why would they do that?
Okay. First, you have to have an understand of how to affect an entire society via brainwashing. And then once you understand, I'm explaining it. I'm actually explaining it to you.
I'm listening, brother.
I'm going like one step at a time so that you can get a full.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's got levels to it. So you start out understanding how to affect the brains of an entire society, how to buy the direction or whatever. Once you do that, then you can get them to become complacent in certain things.
I'm not arguing that, brother. I agree with you.
Then you can get them to vote for certain things. You can get their views to change. Now, granted, it's not going to affect like 15 to 20% of the majority of the planet, but for the other 80 to 85% of the planet, it's going to change their views.